Hey guys, I am Nekisha from Canada Immigration TV. In this video I'm going to talk about 8 things to know about Canada's Parents and Grandparents Program. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, please watch this video all the way to the end. For the most recent immigration news and updates, please like and share to this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button icon of the notification bell. Let's get started with the video. Parents and grandparents of Canadian citizens and permanent residents immigrated here in record numbers last year through the Parents and Grandparents Program, PGP, but the COVID-19 pandemic is still having an impact. According to Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, data, the PGP allowed 12.1% more parents and grandparents to become new permanent residents of Canada last year than in the pandemic's first full year. Through the program, Canada welcomed 11,275 new permanent residents in 2021, up from 10,455 in 2020. However, this is still a historically low level. Here are 8 facts about the PGP that Canadians and permanent residents should be aware of. 1. PGP applications cost $1,050 and can take up to 2 years to process. Sponsoring a parent or grandparent costs $1,050 and takes 20 to 24 months, with the people being sponsored required to provide biometrics after applying. The time it takes to provide those biometrics is included in the processing time. When a Canadian citizen or permanent resident expresses interest in sponsoring these relatives, he or she receives an invitation to apply and must then submit 2 applications to the PGP. The application for sponsorship, and the application for permanent residence. If those applications are approved, the sponsor enters into an agreement known as an undertaking, which begins the day the sponsored person becomes a permanent resident of Canada. 2. Individuals eligible to sponsor under PGP included in this category are Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and First Nations people. There are several requirements under the PGP that must be met in order to be eligible to sponsor a parent or grandparent, including receipt of an invitation to apply, being at least 18 years old, Canadian residency, being a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident of Canada, or a person registered in Canada as an Indian under the Canadian Indian Act. Sufficient funds to support the parent or grandparent. Proof of income, although a spouse or common law partner can co-sign to combine their income with that of the sponsor. Meeting all other requirements under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act and the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations. 3. An undertaking is a legally binding agreement between the sponsor and the government. All sponsors who live outside of Quebec, which has its own immigration system, must promise to financially support the sponsored person for a set period of time. This undertaking commits the sponsor to providing financial support for sponsored family members for 20 years, starting when they become permanent residents. Repaying any provincial social assistance, money from the government, sponsored family members get during that time, and agreeing to certain responsibilities during the undertaking period in a sponsorship agreement. That sponsorship agreement means that the sponsor will provide the basic needs of the sponsored person, including food, clothing, utilities, personal requirements, shelter, fuel, household supplies, and healthcare not covered by public health insurance, such as eye and dental care. The sponsorship agreement is not one to be entered into lightly, as it obliges the sponsor to meet those requirements even in the case of separation or divorce, family rifts, unemployment, change in finances, and even death of the main applicant. After the IRCC approves the sponsor, sponsors who live in Quebec must meet the province's immigration sponsorship requirements. For Quebec, the project will last 10 years. 4. After the IRCC approves the sponsor, sponsors who live in Quebec must meet the province's immigration sponsorship requirements. For Quebec, the project will last 10 years. Due to the requirement for sponsors to accept responsibility for their parents and grandparents through sponsorship agreements under the Pgp, a Canadian citizen or permanent resident with a criminal record or serious financial difficulties may be ineligible for this program. Applicants may not be eligible to sponsor their parents or grandparents if the sponsors are in a jail, prison or penitentiary, didn't pay back an immigration loan or performance bond, failed to make court-ordered family support payments such as alimony or child support, didn't give the financial support specified under a sponsorship agreement to sponsor someone else in the past, declared bankruptcy and are not discharged, receive social assistance for a reason other than a disability, were convicted of a violent criminal offense, any offense against a relative or any sexual offense inside or outside Canada, or can't legally stay in Canada and must leave the country because they received a removal order. 5. Pgp sponsorship does not apply to applicants' spouses, parents or grandparents. The applicant cannot sponsor his or her spouse's parents or grandparents, aka their in-laws, under the Pgp, but can be a co-signer on that spouse's application to bring his or her parents and grandparents to Canada. The Pgp program also prohibits a Canadian citizen or permanent resident from sponsoring someone who is otherwise ineligible to enter Canada. The Pgp is only available to the applicant's biological or adopted parents and grandparents. In the event of divorce, you must submit separate applications if you wish to sponsor divorced parents and grandparents, the IRCC states on its website. If your divorced parents or grandparents have a current spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner, these people become dependents on the application and, if approved, can immigrate to Canada with your parents and grandparents. A Pgp application may include the sponsor's own brothers and sisters, as well as half-brothers and sisters, step-brothers and step-sisters, but only if they qualify as dependent children of the sponsor's parents. 6. Pgp applicants must maintain up-to-date information. Delays in processing can occur quickly when the IRCC is presented with outdated information, so Canadian immigration officials encourage applicants to keep their contact information and application details up to date. Important information which must be updated includes changes in relationship status, birth or adoption of a child, death of an applicant or dependent, contact information such as email addresses, phone numbers, and mailing addresses. The applicant is responsible for going into the application and updating it with this information him or herself. Do not send us changes to your contact or application information, the IRCC advises. If you do, we will not acknowledge your request and your application will not be updated. 7. When processing begins, IRC notifies Pgp applicants. Canadian immigration officials notify Pgp applicants as soon as they begin processing the application, providing them with an application number as well as an acknowledgement of receipt. The IRCC then evaluates the applicant's eligibility as a sponsor as well as the person being sponsored for permanent residence. If we reject you as a sponsor, you can choose to have us continue processing the application for permanent residence for your family members, the IRCC says. If the sponsor chooses to have the IRCC continue processing the application at that point, the sponsor forfeits all fees paid. If the applicant chooses to withdraw the application in the event that he or she is deemed ineligible to sponsor, the applicant will receive a refund of all fees paid, minus the $75 sponsorship fee. 8. Sponsored candidates are evaluated after the sponsor is determined eligible. When Canadian immigration officials approve a sponsor under the Pgp, they turn their attention to the people being sponsored to determine their eligibility under the program. The IRCC will typically request documents from those being sponsored, including medical exam results, police certificates, and Biometrics. Letters requesting biometric information are sent to the parents or grandparents and dependent children named in the application, and they have 30 days to provide the biometric information at the nearest collection point. If you have not subscribed, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click on that notifications bell icon. See you soon in next new immigration update.